watching Morning at NTV.
19th day of February 2024, Senior 1 students are reporting to school officially as schools are open for these students. And we know that already it's 2 weeks into the opening of the school calendar, the first term. And as we talk about this is the Minister of Education State for Primary Education to make us understand how the education sector is moving as we begin this term, the first term. But I know Honorable Dr. Joyce Morikaduchu, who is also the Woman MP for Moyo District, has been moving across the country, especially in the West Nile, trying to do the inspection. First of all, understand from her what the report is, because I've seen a probable situation in some schools. But first of all, good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning. It's nice to be with you this morning. And I want to make this very clear that this is a year of education. The heads of state of African Union have dedicated this year 2024 as a year of education. It's a year that all of us need to examine ourselves, our roles and contribution to education. It's a year that everybody should look at education, what it plays, what the role of education towards developing our economy, our country is all about. Having said that, indeed it is true, being a year of education and with the emphasis on foundational learning, which is a foundation for education, which is a pillar for education. I have been moving around schools, moving across the country to first of all ascertain the conditions of our schools, to ensure that children have reported to schools. And in the process of touring the many schools that I've visited, at the beginning of reporting, in some schools have been poor, most especially upcountry. People take too long to report. They believe that the first week is just for cleaning. Yet, ideally, preparation is supposed to take place before the calendar for opening the school. So as a result, they miss a lot. They report the first 2 to 3 weeks. Number two, the infrastructure. Some of them really need a lot of facelifting. In most of government schools, what is critically that the head teachers and the district heads should pay attention to is the issue of sanitation. They need to ensure that before the schools reopen, they look at the sanitation, the latrines and all that, so that as the children get back, they have a decent sanitation facilities to use. Equally, the classroom blocks and the compound. Some of them are really are not clean at all. The grasses are tall and they really needed to be cleaned prior to reporting date. While in private schools, there is a lot to be done. Many of them do not follow the basic requirement, the minimum standard as per the Education Act. And because of that, many private schools do admit learners in a boarding section when the facilities are not according to the standards required. And that is the situation across the country. And for that matter, this being a year of education, this is a year that we really need to put our feet down. We are going to act.
Honorable, one would ask, where have you been all along? Because we know there are some schools, yes, do not have those requirements. They have been operating for years. We have district education officers, we have local government, we have the police, and the situation goes from bad to worse.
Indeed, it is true that the ideal situation and the principle is that before anybody opens the door, the gates for children to enter, to learn, to study, they must meet the basic requirement, the minimum standard as per the Education Act. You must have what it means to have a school environment, classroom facilities, playgrounds. If it is a boarding section, there must be a decent dormitories and a sanitation facility, and this must be inspected. This must adhere to the standard, and it must go through the requirements, the approvals which has been put in place. Unfortunately, from what I've seen and where I have been, the issue of corruption takes a lead. You get some of the inspectors, when they go to inspect those facilities, well knowing that the facilities have not met the minimum standards, they are given money. And on top of that, they allow the school authority to operate year in, year out, the same situation. We are saying enough is enough. This is the time to crack. This is the time to act. And to that effect, starting from Central here, Kampala, KCCA, already we have given directives, and to the districts we are moving. All schools that do not meet the minimum requirement and the basic standards, please get ready, because we have to close the schools down. We are closing, but there are those that can improve. There are those that you can tell them, put this one right, put that one right. You can improve. Give time duration for them to improve, and the approval process, it has to go. But there are those that are really putting the lives of our learners at risk, especially the boarding section. We start closing the boarding section. You close the boarding section, but allow the learners to operate as day scholars, and give time frame for the directors to work on the necessary gaps that needed to be put in place.
Yes, but you know that some schools, even in Kampala, some have already been closed, others have already been warned, others are under inspection. But you also know that even in public schools, the situation is not any better, and we seem to be focusing more on private schools, but the situation also in public schools is one is looking at you that also government is also having schools that are also in a bad situation, schools that don't meet the standards.
The problem in public schools is different from the one in private schools. Most of our public schools are day schools. Children come from home, they study, and they go back home. And the biggest challenges in our public schools are issues of sanitation.
And the structures.
And the infrastructure that needs to be given facelifts. And remember, every year we send school facility grants to every district. Every year we send school renovation funds. And that's why we are moving district by district to give accountability of that money. That school facility grant, the money meant for innovation, is supposed to give a facelift to the schools.
But there are schools which don't even have a structure. There are some students, some pupils are studying under trees or under shelter.
But that is a mistake, because there are no supposed to be government coded schools that are under the tree in this era. Most of our schools have got structure. Yes, I can admit that some of the infrastructures needed to be given facelift. And the truth is, the money that we send to the local government, they need to give us accountability. They divert that money to do something, and yet the schools needed to be put right. So that is the problem in public schools. And I can tell you, and I can stand here and tell the people of Uganda that my ministry every year sends school facility grants. Every year we send renovation funds. But you don't see value for money in those districts. Where is the money?
Nothing's done.
Number two, for private schools, my biggest challenge with them is the accommodation section. They are not approved to operate as boarding section. They go ahead and put children in ramshackle building. There are no sanitation facilities, dirty latrines, no washing, even washing places are not there. You've seen it.
But
I've moved to schools, I've closed dormitories. So that is the biggest problem with private schools. However, we still have rooms to improve. Where there is a will, there is a way. So I want to call upon all government schools and private schools. This is a year of education. declared by African Union, the heads of states.
Yes, Honorable, the year of education is here, but there are schools we see some operating in containers, especially the private ones. Maybe let the public know the standards first. The few standards that you look at as ministry before one sets up a school, of as a parent, before I take my child to school X, you need to know that I have also this clear checklist that we can also know that this school is not on the standard. It could also be closed anytime soon.
You know, there's a difference between a home and a school. A school has got a standard, uniformity. When we talk about school, we want to see infrastructure that is different from our home. There is a difference between a classroom and a bedroom. So we need a classroom, we need administrative buildings, we need infrastructures like for playground. Many schools in Kampala do not have a playground. And yet, this is a Ministry of Education and Sports. We need children to go through extracurriculum education. So we need a playground. We need all necessary items that should put the life, and also the issue of fire outbreaks. We've been having a lot of issues of fire outbreaks. We've been talking about the public. The problem is that people cannot listen. You talk every time. You talk, but we'll continue talking. The ears are hard.
Maybe it goes with a reminder.
How much we talk, but we'll keep on telling people. There are already guidelines issued concerning issues of preventing fire outbreaks in schools. So when you are putting infrastructure, you should know that these are the basic requirements. Besides infrastructure, you need to put in place measures to prevent fire outbreaks.
You know, Honorable, the problem I see is with the ministries, with the inspection department or the unit, because before the schools open, now we've had 2.5 months of holiday. Why don't we see the inspection from local government, from the DEOs, right during the holiday time, or even from the ministry itself, to go down and do this checklist before the schools open? And now you are closing them like we've seen in Kampala. You're already beginning to close some of the schools. Why don't we do the inspection during holidays?
Don't forget about issues of lightning arrestor. And I'm reminding school owners, put in place measures to prevent lightning arrestor, to prevent fire outbreak and many other hazards which put the lives of our children at risk. Now, ideally we are supposed to do these inspections truly slightly before the schools reopen, but there are guidelines for inspection. There are really standards for inspection. You find out most of the private schools, during holidays, they close the schools, they lock the schools, and I do not have the authority to go and break the padlock from the gate. That one, they can take me to court. But however, it's in order for us to start that, go back to our guidelines, ensure we inspect the schools prior to the reopening, especially after the long-term holidays, such that when the schools have open, they are really ready to teach. Then the inspections, of course, in between the teaching, the terms are also there. So I want to call upon the inspectors, please. There are those that are committed. There are those that they do their work diligently. But there are those that when they are given money and they allow the schools to operate the way how they have been operating. I've witnessed it.
Honorable, your final words, including issues of school fees, because parents are concerned.
I know the issue of school fees is now the topical issue in this country. We've talked about it. And I want to thank the First Lady, who is the Minister of Education and Sports. She has made this communication. Cabinet has allowed us to implement comprehensive, compulsory, universal free education, meaning that government is going to put more money for implementing universal education, more money such that parents do not pay additional money to recruit teachers, money to add capitation grant, money to do whatever parents are paying. So when we have more money, we should be able to put a roadmap, a guideline to see how we can implement universal education. And for those schools who are getting public funds, like the 109 primary schools, and 105 secondary schools. They are getting public funds through the teachers' capitation grant, but they are charging parents a lot of money. So we need to agree with them. If we are giving more money for them, they must follow the guideline set for universal education. If they do not want, the door is open. You choose. You have a choice. You give back our money, our teachers, all the money we give for you, and we leave you to run as private institute. And on top of that, we regulate you. Because secondly, Cabinet has passed 12 items. That is binding. A resolution from Cabinet is binding. Those 12 items that schools should not charge, like you don't ask parents for construction of a building. You don't ask parents for activities or PTA. You don't ask parents for examination fee. You don't ask parents for admission fee. So those are the items 12 which Cabinet has passed, and it is binding. And we're going to regulate. And at the end of it, if private schools think they can continue overcharging parents, I think it's high time you need to rethink. Otherwise, I call upon everybody, we are committed to provide quality education for all our children.
Thank you so much for your time and for, of course, allowing to come out of your office to speak to us from here. This is Honorable Dr. Joyce Moriku Kaduchu, who is the Minister of Education State for Primary Education, but she's also the woman member of Parliament for Moyo District. Stephen Imbido Fefesuwe Chibuga, handing you back to studio, and of course we shall know more about these resolutions from Cabinet in our subsequent bulletins.